Hi, I'm Dan with Boston Yacht Sales, and today we're doing our very first episode of Beyond the Sale, which is a podcast about everything about boats, from buying and selling to maintaining value and beyond. Today I'm with Oz Mendes
Hi.
and Lucas Smith. Both have been in the industry for a while, but Oz, why don't you tell us about where you came from and what we're doing now?
My name's Oz. I own a company called Create Marine, where we specialize in marine electronics and systems integration on boats, yachts of all sizes. Got in the marine industry when I got back from Afghanistan from my first tour in 2011. Um, the show Wicked Tuna was on TV back then, and trying to get back into life, said, "Wow, fishing's pretty cool." So went out to Walmart and purchased the basicest of rod and reel kit I could find. Went to the hunt. This was in April. Started casting off the pier. Old timer comes by with a lobster boat. Says, "What are you fishing for?" Said, "I don't know. Fish." He says, "You're not gonna catch anything right now. It's too cold and too early in the season." And I said, "Okay, cool." 30 minutes later, I got a 32-inch striper, and I guess we can say that set the hook for me because the very next move was, if I can get a fish at the pier, and if I go to the fish in open water, maybe my chances will increase of catching said fish. And I purchased my first boat, and that's where the
Did you catch a fish off the pier that day?
I I did. It was a 32-inch striper, and that set the hook for me. Where I got the boat. It was a $300 boat, which was a learning
A
experience.
boat's a boat.
A boat's a boat.
Well,
Except
there's no such thing as a free boat.
well, a $300 boat turned out to be a $6,000 boat
That's
after
how it
all the
goes.
repairs. Exactly. Yep. So that's where I started my boating, I would say, career because I said, wait, with my background in low voltage electronics already, I was able to get everything rectified and actually sold that boat for a profit, believe it or not. And then that kind of set me over.
Turn and burn.
Exactly. My second boat was a 2002 Sea Ray 260 that actually had caught on fire over in Captain's Cove. Luckily, the fire was contained to the cabin, and
Were you in it?
I was not because I
Oh, that's
purchased
fun.
it after it got burnt. But
Got it.
luckily enough, I went in and with that mindset, I'm like, wait, I can restore this and restore the boat to what I thought at the time. What would Sea Ray do today? And it came out extremely nice, solid teak floors, real teak, and all that stuff, and it came out beautiful. Then we were rafting up at World's End one day. Uh, I was rafted up to who's now a buddy of mine with a similar boat, and he goes into my boat and says, "Wow, those floors are awesome. How much would you charge me to put those floors on my boat?" And I looked around, and did quick math, and said, "Nah, 3,000." He's like, "Done." I'm like, "What do you mean done?" He's like, "When can you do it?" I'm like, "This week." And then the light went off in my head, and I said, "I can make a living off of this." And yeah, that's
Now you're like, now they're like, when can you do it? And you're like, next month.
yeah, next month if we're lucky.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
tis the season, and we try our best to get everybody in the water at a timely fashion. And my background is that marine electronics standpoint, so transferring that into the yacht sales, like we were talking at one point, where going in with that technical insight is a learning curve because we're going in and showing these boats to customers, and we're going in with this mentality of totally different than a customer coming in looking at the optics and layout of the boat. We're looking at what's wrong, what are red flags, um, what's the electronics on this boat, is the firmware updated, has it been updated, is the chart updated. So these are the questions that I'm asking myself when the customer's looking at the couch.
People don't think about that.
No, and that's where I guess excels us, but definitely a learning curve, but definitely a good ace in the hole for having us as backing up customers with that knowledge and know-how.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, Lucas, what do you do?
So I'm Lucas, and everybody in the boating community knows me mo better as Diesel Smith. I've owned and operated, founded Diesel Smith back in 2014. Um, Been doing it ever since. Uh, Volva Penna was my go-to product. It was my dealership for many years, and really worked to boost their product. And that was my specialty. Otherwise, FBT, Nanny, Boudouin,
Bless you.
ZF. We had all these brands and manufacturers, and anything you can think of. I've touched. I've been there, done that. So
How'd you get into the industry?
prior to that,
Did you work on trucks?
Did you? I heard you worked on trucks.
Rumor has it.
prior to that, I worked for PACCAR. PACCAR is Peterbilt Kenworth. I worked for them for a while. Prior to that, I attended a college, Universal Technical Institute, and prior to that, I attended Cape Cod Technical Regional High School and was in the Marine Tech program since the 8th grade. So, long time working on boats, mechanical equipment, you name it, done that. So that's really the
But you know what's funny? Not just you and I come from the technical background, because Dan also comes
well, that's true.
from the service
And
and
we
tech background too, and I don't think a lot of people know about that about you.
no,
I actually started at the in 1998.
year was 1990.
I know. I'm the old guy here.
it was before I was
at
born.
Highline
Really?
Cruises.
No,
Christ.
I was at Highline Cruises as a deckhand, and I ended up going up to an engineer on their biggest boat, and then went to the Maritime Academy and started selling boats in 2005. And from there, I ended up going up to Craft Power, which is going into industrial engine sales, and got into Kohler Marine generators and doing the commercial and recreational side of it, and then started a couple of my own things, and then got my CPYB, which is a Certified Professional Yacht Broker's Certificate, and came here to Boston Yacht Sales. And that was 2022.
so all of our skill sets kind of overlap and intertwine, and that's what kind of builds our integrity and makes us who we are.
We've all been in the industry for quite some time.
Yes, we have.
So today we're going to try and limit ourselves to new boats and what makes a quality build when you go and look at a new boat.
Which sounds like a simple question, but it is
So loaded.
it's a loaded question. You put a lot of thought into it. I put a lot of thought into it, and still don't have the right answer. So
Same. Yeah, because even being in the yacht sales industry for the short amount of time that I've been in, and I've experienced firsthand that going into these boats, we're looking at something, customers looking at something totally different.
well, with our background, with where we are coming from, we are hired to get on a boat, and we're our objective is set, and we complete our objective, and then we get off the
Well,
boat.
when they're calling
right?
us, something's already broken.
Exactly.
Now we're
right?
going into these boats and yachts, and there's nothing broken yet. Or at least we haven't found it.
New boat. There's always something broken on a
Boat's
new boat.
Always broken.
Always.
You just don't know it yet.
Yep.
That doesn't mean it's a problem. It just means that be prepared. What do you guys look at? And I know what I look at when I first get on a new boat, on any boat build. What do you guys see initially when you first walk through that transom door?
Well, first off, while I'm walking down the dock and I put eyes on the boat, I look at the water line. Is the water line above the hardtop, or is it, or is it where it should be?
Well, I would.
Well, that's a gimme, but yeah.
And it's but if the boat is listing to a certain, if a boat's not sitting flat in the water, first thing to look at is boats are supposed to, for the most part,
It's
sit
nice for them
flat.
to sit.
Yeah. If it's a little kitty wampus, we got to figure out is it a design flaw? Is it a new boat? Is it a weight distribution problem? Which kind of ties into topic number one.
Mhm.
But yeah, is the
One-
boat floating?
One thing that catches my eye before you even, as you're walking down the dock, it's how the boat's assembled and put together, and you can see.
You can see that from a distance.
Well, you can see seams. Sure, you can see sometimes
Symmetry.
boats are glued
Symmetry.
together. Yeah,
Word of the day.
boats are
symmetry.
glued together at the gunnel or at the cabin area, and sometimes you can see that the boat builder or manufacturer doesn't put the products that others do into the build. So you can or they hide it with cheap materials, cheap rub rails, things that are kind of an obvious to certain people who have been around boats for a long time, maybe new boat owners or novice people. They wouldn't catch that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As I walked through the transom door, after I
After
realized
walking down the dock.
after walking down the dock and realizing that the boat is floating, and
Okay, so the boat's afloat,
that's good.
right?
The
That's
boat is level.
So that's checked.
boat's level,
Boat's level. Okay,
Yep.
so we got that.
and I'm looking at symmetry. I'm looking at symmetry and alignment.
And you know that's almost an unfair statement because we don't know if the boat's loaded with fuel, water, people. You know,
There
there's
could
all
be
kinds
gear,
of things.
There
Going
could be
on.
gear on one side or the other, but that's all to
And
look
that-
at when we get on.
Yeah, and that's what we got to find out, right? But
Right.
if it's listing, is it a geared or a weight distribution thing? I mean, how big is this boat, right? If we're talking about a 50-foot boat that's listing, I don't care how much, we got going on there, provided that there is relatively leveled fuel
Sure.
and everything's split, there shouldn't be.
For time.
So to get
Let's-
back on track here.
For
so,
time.
right.
Let's talk about a boat that's like 30 feet. We're going to look at a 30-foot boat. We've already gotten down the dock. We're looking
30-foot new boat.
30-foot new boat. Got it.
Got it.
What do we want to look at when we get on that boat?
Can it be 40 feet?
It doesn't matter.
We could be 40 foot.
All right.
Awesome.
Sure.
Check.
So what do we go with a 40-foot boat? Do we want to go at 40-foot outboard boat? It's got outboards on it.
And it's flag blue.
Sure, it's flag blue.
Cool. Hard top, not soft top. But with an extendable sunshade.
Sure.
Practically a backhoe.
What's an outboard?
Let's just go with any boat that we're going to get on that boat now. First thing I see when I walk through that transom door is, what does the hardware look like?
Yep.
Is it chintzy or is it something that's good and chunky?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you wanna see if that hardware is gonna last. So with our technical background, we know that a chintzy hardware is gonna look chintzier to the 10th power in 2 to 3/4 seasons.
So what's an example of a chintzy hardware? What does that look like if you can describe it?
Well, if you go to West Marine, for example, and pick out a piano hinge, for instance, right? They're not gonna have nice, robust, sturdy piano hinges that are thick. They're gonna have the
So
cheaper.
thinner materials.
thinner material isn't
maybe
gonna fare
wavy
well.
maybe wavy metal because you can see the thickness of
Yeah,
it.
you can see a little bit of wave in it.
Yep.
but definitely thicker hardware is gonna outlast anything that's thinner or chintzier.
Right.
Yep, I agree with that.
The next thing I look at, if there are deck hatches, I usually like to step on the deck hatch.
Yep. See if there's flex.
There's flex, and if it's just a gasket give, because there is that, or if it's actually,
Creaking.
yeah,
Rumor has it that you like to jump on hatches.
I do.
I've heard before.
I like to jump on the decks because that also is a sign that maybe something's not something.
The
missed
structural
something.
integrity is
Yeah.
lacking.
And it's different from something, maybe an older boat that's like spongy, but it's the actual balance in the deck I like looking at. And I may not do a big jump like, but I'll do.
Oh, I've seen you at these boat shows. You're up and down. You're
I'm all over the place.
full 4 foot up in the air.
Well, you know it.
Here's Dan and his pogo stick. He's gonna test out the deck integrity of this boat.
That should be a separate video.
It could be a separate video. later.
Dan on a pogo stick.
That's later on in this.
And we're gonna have a demonstration after. Dan, show us how you do it.
All right. So what else do you guys like to see as we first get on the boat? Now
Well-
that we've gotten through my deck jumping.
I'm looking at salon paneling. What type of materials did the builder choose? Did he choose a inexpensive laminate that you would find in some sort of IKEA furniture, or did he go with a veneer or solid wood, or what are the choices for the cabinetry, flooring, things of that nature that was chosen for the build itself? That speaks very highly of the level of attention to detail that the builder is going to put into their boat. It brings pride, right? So if a boat builder has pride on what they do, they're going to choose optimal materials. They're going to choose high quality, great stuff. If a boat builder is more of a conveyor belt, let's push these boats out of the factory and get them sold. They're thinking efficiency. Now, efficiency and quality don't necessarily correlate
Well, it's
together.
quality over quantity, right?
Exactly. It's a saying that it goes true. Especially in the boat stuff. In the boat world, you're gonna bust out 20 boats out of the gate for the week, for the month. They're not gonna have the same quality as a boat builder that takes time to make sure that the quality control is there.
And then to your point, price isn't always a reflection of quality.
Absolutely not.
So we can have we'll just set the bar at $1 million. We can have $1 million boat, and you could have $100,000 boat that you could have $1 million production boat, and you could have $100,000 boat that's built maybe locally, owned and operated locally by somebody who really cares. Smaller outfit may showcase more quality materials than that $1 million, build and kick out the door quickly manufacture. So price does not always reflect quality.
Now, just so we're clear, we're not going to find a boat that's $1 million that's compared to $100,000 boat.
Well, that
So
was just that was an extreme example
it's
for
an
sure.
extreme example, but you got your point.
Just to
across
set the
there.
picture. Just to
I
set
go
the
$1
tone.
million to 750.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
All right. So, symmetry,
Alignment.
alignment.
Alignment is the key to a boat. It's the key to I was gonna say perfect, but there's no such thing as perfect. It's the key to a solid boat.
So
Alignment.
moving forward, we'll go up through the top sides of the boat, and then we'll get down into the nitty gritty.
Sure.
Because we all like what's below deck.
Yeah, baby.
Moving forward, up to the helm. We can't really talk about electronics because everybody has their own idea of electronics.
Personal preference. That's right.
But we can talk about how, if the boat is equipped with electronics, how it is set in.
Sure.
Right? How did they install those electronics in the dash?
Sure.
The layout of the helm.
Yep, the layout, again, symmetry and alignment, right? So are these screens symmetrical? Are they aligned? Right? So I've seen a lot of new builds where we've done enough.
Kitty wampus, as you
They're
say?
little kitty wampus.
Kitty wampus.
By
That's a technical term?
Yes, it's actually German.
That's good.
Yeah.
German.
I think so. And having that eye for doing this for a living, you put eyes on a brand new helm and you're like, kitty wampus.
Huh.
That's not right.
I'm
But
gonna use that tomorrow.
okay, use it today.
I have a survey tomorrow. This boat is kitty wampus. Can you use that in a sentence, please?
Insurance is reading your report. Kitty wampus, he says.
I understand. Check. Okay.
But yeah, looking at the products that they chose, right? What type of electronic? What's the electronics package that they went with? Is it full blown autopilot? Is it integrated into the Merc or to the Cummins?
Well, that's all stuff that you can add in later on too.
You can, but
I mean,
did a boat builder do that right off the riff, or is it an option?
Right.
So,
Well, there's helm materials too, and I don't know if this is off topic, but you got your veneers, you got your woods, your
painted
hardwoods,
plastics,
you've got your acrylics, yeah,
that's all. I mean,
Right.
what type of materials did they use when they were putting the thing together?
and how they're fastened. Yep.
I also like putting my butt against the seat to see how the seat, like when you sit on a boat,
Well,
you can tell the difference with how the
100%.
because at the end of the day, when you're at the helm, you want to be comfortable.
Yep,
Especially if you're running that boat all day long.
and a
Yes,
tall
you do.
tail that, for me personally, is if a boat doesn't have a seat, I'm not buying that boat because there's no seat to sit on.
Right.
Now, you just made me think, why would there not be a seat?
Because someone took it off.
I mean, are we running a commercial fishery here?
I did show an Azimuth 50 in Florida that had a pole, and it was an Azimuth 50 yacht, a pole in the helm seat. And I'm like, what the
So
heck
that just
is
means that somebody took the seat.
So they
you
took
were
a
in Florida?
pontoon.
Were you in Florida?
They took a pontoon seat,
Wait, reeling it back in. We're talking a new boat.
and so that's
That means somebody jacked the seat, man.
the seat was there, but there was a pole where they got a pontoon plastic seat and put it in its place.
That's weird. That's a whole nother podcast.
That
we'll
is-
do. That's
that's
has
weirdness.
to do with things that we've seen that are
I think
just out of
I
order.
think somebody was messing with you.
That well, we didn't buy that boat.
All right. So
Just because of the helm seat.
keeping going in this 40-foot boat, supposed boat.
Blue in
We're
color.
gonna blue in color with outboards.
Upwards.
We're gonna go down to the
Why
cabin.
outboards?
Because that's the thing now.
Well,
Oh.
we'll
Man.
get again. That's a whole separate podcast that we can do about how different propulsion types, but we're focusing in on this right now.
Okay, all right. So there's outboards.
In the blue boat.
In the blue boat,
I'm already
it's
uncomfortable.
40 feet.
I'm uncomfortable.
Well, going down to the cabin, that's where you should be comfortable.
Okay, we're comfortable.
Going
now.
down in the cabin, what are we looking for there?
A nice mattress.
That is very true.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. You got to look at the thickness of the mattress.
But that's all can be fixed too.
Where the head is, how the head's
I
set
feel
up.
like you dove really hard into that one.
Yeah.
That's solid.
I mean, what do you think when you go down below? What are you looking for?
Where's the electrical panel?
Oh, hell.
How easy is it to get to the battery switches?
Yeah, okay, that makes you it's a valid point.
Where is the electrical panel?
Where is the how easy is it, and how intricate is it? Some boats, some modern boats right now, they try to keep things as streamlined as possible. So you might have 5 switches on there, and I personally like to have it to see a panel that has individual breakers for individual circuits. But again, that
I
ties into,
like just simplicity, because I can't tell you how many boats I get on and there's a little flashlight somewhere around that panel, and you know damn well that people look at that panel and they're like, well, first of all, the labeling is, micro print. I mean, it's tiny. I'm fine with it. You're fine with it. You're fine with it. But we read them all.
I need
Okay.
glasses.
And so you look at it and you're like, man, who can decipher what's what here? And then you just end up turning every breaker on, and then turning one breaker off at a time until you get the right one on.
or your hot water blows up because there was no hot water.
And then
there's
you
no
just turn the
water in
breaker
it.
on.
But
you
your hot water
left, you
break
forgot
was
about
like-
it.
It's a steam bomb.
Yeah.
Fucking pressure valve didn't work.
Gone. Well, it's a boat, so you just you spend money. So
All right.
Yeah.
How about panels inside? Like looking at the panels, same thing as the outside. Go down
yeah,
the symmetry between everything.
yeah.
How
But sometimes I don't want to look at a panel at all, and I want to say, okay, well,
wanna see the
I like
mattress.
doors. I like cabinet doors.
where's the galley? Galley's the kitchen.
Galley up or galley down, right? Galley up is becoming more popular. I think it's almost trending. I don't, it's
That's
okay.
going
It's a
back
story
to,
for another day.
That's going back to personal preference.
Fine,
on how things
fine.
Go.
Well, I'm a galley down kind of guy, but
I like a mid galley.
I like a galley app.
I don't like people to see me when I'm prepping cheese.
What, are you embarrassed of your cheese skills?
Oh, dude, I have yet to figure out how to cut a piece of cheese.
I heard you cut the cheese pretty good though.
Well, we're gonna pop the hatches on some stuff when we go down and look at the machinery spaces.
Yep.
I like seeing all the wires tied up and in chases.
You have to. Fuel lines.
Fuel lines, yeah.
Fuel lines have to be run just the same as the wiring should be run. It should be nice, tight,
Seamless, tight.
seamless,
Right.
tight. It should be tight to the bulkheads. All the bulkheads should be sound down below. Everything should be. You should be able to eat out of that engine room like I do on a normal basis and be comfortable with it as the boat owner, not me.
Rat's nests and wiring is probably not the best of ideas.
It's a
behind
no-go.
it.
Accessibility is huge too. There are boat builders that new boats that would do a lithium battery, and then which is lighter than a traditional 8D battery, which is
Yeah, it's
about 8.
Great. It's got
Yeah.
it's an
Right.
option in a lot of boats.
But they
It's got
put
its
the
own thing.
T fuses behind the battery, and the battery's tied down,
Can't get the T fuse.
so you can't get to the T fuses.
T fuse is something that connects the battery power to the rest of the boat. It's a type of fuse.
And it's the type of fuse that you can only test if it is working or not working with a multimeter, unless it looks like it physically blew out, which
The thing about it is
Then
there's
something
many
really
types of
catastrophic happens.
fuses, and actually to stay on that topic very quickly, some types of fuse, there's something called a maxi fuse as well, and some maxi fuses are out. They're put out in the open by the boat builder, and it's kind of a pet peeve of mine not to do that. They put them down in a water susceptible area, and you almost always see them green. They're green from corrosion, and they never last, and it's always problematic for future diagnosis, and it becomes the boat owner's issue in a form of financials. So um, when I go down to an engine room, I want to see, things that are susceptible to water up and out of the reach of the water, because engine rooms always there's always condensation building. There's always moisture buildup in engine rooms, no matter what the airflow is. It's always going to be there.
Yeah, so layout of hardware is very, it's paramount to the longevity of
Well
the
thought out.
functionality of the boat. Yeah.
Well thought out layout.
Absolutely.
In any machinery space.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And machinery, your machinery space is it's your lifeline. It's your heartbeat of the boat. So it's where everything starts and stops, and that's essentially what's most important. And then you look at the luxury items outside of that box, but that's what gets you out and back safely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Or
that's important.
that's going to be a make it or break it too, because one of those things that they overseen in terms of the build and placement. To your point, if you have a maxi fuse, which is probably protecting a very important circuit on the boat, if that fuse fails and that boat fails and you're out at sea. Typically, boats don't typically fail in perfect weather.
Sure.
For the most part, they're going to fail
Never.
Almost never.
when the weather is not in your favor. So if you have that going on, you got weather and you got something as silly as that could have been avoidable if they just thought about placement.
Yeah, number one takeaway for any boater should be peace of mind, really, right? You're out there to enjoy your family. You're out there to enjoy yourself, and something a lot of people these days rarely get to do. And it's an opportunity that most are not able to obtain in their lifetime. So to have peace of mind, that all stems from quality of build. You don't want to spend your time, your valuable time, fixing things, or calling mechanics and technicians on in any location of that boat. You're going to be waiting for months. I know that. Oz knows that. Dan knows that from the service side. We all have backlogs, and so you have to deal with the repercussions of a lesser quality build sometimes.
We've been to the galley. We saw that Lucas's mattresses are plush. So the next thing to look at is the bilge, right? Bilge compartments up, forward bilge and mid bilge areas. Opening those up and seeing what I expect when I open up a hatch on a bilge like that. Is it dry?
Yeah.
The answer should be yes.
On a new boat, yeah.
On a new boat,
Absolutely.
So is it dry, and how's the plumbing? So a lot of people don't understand how drainage works on a boat. Very simple. You're in the shower. On a typical layout is you have a shower that drains into a shower box or some pump box, and that box has a bilge pump inside, which fills with water. Float goes up, activates the pump, discharges the water overboard or to a gray water tank, depending on the setup. So that shower box is inevitably going to need maintenance at some point, whether to float, the pump, or a pipe
It's
gets
just a bilge
clogged.
pump.
It's just a bilge pump. It's the same pump, same float that you would find in the bilge of a boat. Those floats are susceptible to failure. Those pumps are susceptible to failure. So we want to make sure, how accessible is that shower box?
Can you get it out?
Can you get it out when the time comes that you do have to do maintenance on it? Can we get to it, or is it buried 4 feet into the floor where you have to?
Yeah, but if
undo
you're
all
the boat buyer, you don't care about shower boxes, right?
Well, when you're looking at it, because that all goes on before.
Who's ever going to say, I'm going to go down below and look at the shower box
No,
at a
nobody.
boat show,
Not
right?
one person.
Not one
Right.
person, but that's what we as brokers and with the technical side, that's what we're looking at to advise
Sure.
our customers, like, hey, when you have trouble, and things start leaking, this is where you're going to look at, this is what you can do, or this is who you can call. 'Cause
Sure,
sometimes, if-
but that's also, isn't that the follow-up team?
That's follow-up. A lot of people, when you buy a boat, there's people for that. We're
So-
coming to the end of being on that boat. What else are we looking at?
So where are we? Are we at the stern or are we at the bow?
We are inside the salon checking. We just closed the bilge because clearly Lucas doesn't give a.
I don't give a damn
crap
about the
about the
friggin'
shower
shower
box.
pump.
How about the anchor? Is the
Is there an
nice-
anchor?
Is
Are we?
well, there has to be an anchor.
Well,
Well, what
It's a 40-foot
about
boat
what about
Blue.
what about what
Flag
about
without boards.
you know, we're still in a. I thought we were still in the stateroom, but
no, we walked out
Yeah, we walked
Up.
out.
okay.
towards the bow.
See, when you were talking about bilge pumps, I was over here.
Well, the bilge pump's So now we're at the anchor.
Well, what about clothing storage and stuff like that?
I mean, I guess that goes to aesthetics, but yeah,
It goes to-
well,
yeah.
it does functionality, right?
And-
Design and function.
alignment and symmetry.
Alignment.
Well, hatch hardware, to your point, is actually very important. You know, a lot of the boats that you see out there, brand new, multi-million-dollar boats, they on the refrigerator, where there is a panel to match the existing cabinetry of the salon or the house or whatever the case is. That hardware that opens up that fridge door for that panel is all plastic. On better built boats, that same hardware is going to be stainless steel. So I think we can all agree that stainless steel is going to
Or
outlast
wood,
plastic.
like a painted wood.
Well, I'm saying the hardware that
Oh, the
connects
hardware,
the
the actual-
panel
yeah,
to
yeah.
the fridge door
I
itself.
got you.
So
Yeah,
those
yeah.
little hardwares, those are the little things that the attention to detail,
So materials used are the key takeaway, right?
100%. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. You know, a lesser expensive material is not going to outlast. You know, for
And
the
how
most
do you
part.
and how do you decipher? Because people will ask, you know, how do I decipher what is a cheap material and what is a nice material?
I think we
don't-
can
I don't know
agree
the
that
difference.
stainless steel is better than plastic.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So-
But where would I find stainless steel elsewhere than what you just described? But where would I find
Screws.
plastic screws?
No, no. You could have regular, just steel screws.
No, but like
You could have
the drawers, the hardware
Oh,
that
the
you open up
slides
the
on the
drawer
drawers,
with the
yeah.
slides, but like the locking mechanism of the door itself, you know,
Yeah,
is
that
that
could
a
be plastic.
plastic? You know, is it a male female connecting type where you push to open?
and that may be something that you can hop on a boat and say, well, you know what, I don't want that refrigerator. I want a Dometic XYZ as opposed to.
Oh, they don't make those anymore.
Oh, they don't.
They never make the
Novacool.
same. They never.
Those
They
are
never
out-
make.
those
They
are
never
out
make
there,
the same
okay.
refrigerator twice.
So the ABC is in or what?
You know me. Yes.
1, 2, 3.
But yeah, then again, you also have, you know, good quality boats that fit the bill for everything. But then you go down to the salon, and it is plastic hardware on the sliding mechanism or the locking drawers, you know, cupboards, cabinets, and all that stuff.
So what about synthetics versus hardwoods?
So I'm a fan of
Because
synthetics.
you don't see hardwoods often anymore.
Yeah, it's a pro and con, right? It's a double-edged sword. You got synthetics that's going to be low maintenance, but you know there's
Sure.
the optical view of it. How does it look on the boat? You know, is it a 5-foot looking synthetic where it looks great from 5 feet away?
A 5-foot looking synthetic.
A 5-foot looking synthetic, or is it going to be real? And you know that there's going to be an upkeep, a certain degree of upkeep to keep it nice and shiny, or
So if you have to
flat or
say
matte
it
finish.
looks good for my house, it's probably not the right way. It's
It's-
probably not the right boat for you.
it all goes to, you know, what's a quality build, right? That's kind of where we're stemming down to it.
Well, that is what our topic is. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Lucas, you showed me a picture today about a guy who did a composite door with a veneer on it,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and it was absolutely seamless.
Yes.
Yep.
So that a synthetic versus a natural does not necessarily mean.
No, it does, and it can be deceiving. It absolutely can. But it's the fact that the doorway, the companionway door, was built in. He built it in I believe it was 3 sections, and when you put those 3 sections together, the joinery was cut out in just a way where it's seamless. I mean, you can't tell that they're sections. It just looks like one board.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
with that, having the attention to detail on a new build is that trumps
Next to none. Yeah.
the type of material. So as long as your attention to detail is there,
100%. And you also have the benefit of synthetic materials. They're not going to expand and contract as much as natural materials, such as, you know, wood.
Right.
Wood's going to have That's why there's a reason why they don't make boats.
Well,
like
let's
the
talk about upkeep, right? So upkeep, your synthetic materials more likely not as much upkeep, right?
Correct.
With annual upkeep, if you will, with varnish
Bright
or
work,
oil. And if you use the wrong type of oil, there could be repercussions there. So they're very finicky.
Yeah, and there's pros and cons.
But not to
it,
say that
everything,
it's natural wood is a bad material to use, because these days we're using genetically modified, kiln hardened, kiln dried, hardened, all this stuff, all these new terms out in the industry, and it seems to be working, for these new
they're
boat builds.
stabilizing the wood fibers themselves to outlast the environment that the harsh environment that the marine world.
And let's
salt,
face it, boats
water.
are in the most harsh environment.
Yeah, but
absolutely.
there's a reason why they don't make boats like the Nina Pinta and the Santa Maria, all wood, because those things are they're gonna expand and contract. With
Those boats
water.
are legends.
They are legends, yeah.
They do, but it's different build, a different type of build. They're still wood boats.
They're just
Yeah, now
built
you're
differently
getting into like
nowadays.
a down east style main built. That's a totally.
But still, in today's technology that's available to everybody right now,
That's a different.
The
That's a different
actual
appreciation
process.
for craftsmanship, is what
Right.
that is,
The
right?
actual
so
process
there is
of
no
building
pros
Totally
and
different.
cons. There's no pros
We're
and cons between
talking-
synthetic and organic.
Yeah, this discussion is pertaining to
what makes a quality build when you're going on a new boat to look at what
Absolutely.
do you see
So the
first?
attention to detail, no matter if it's synthetic or organic. So
Right.
and then it's going to be user preference, whether it's wood, shiny wood that you're going to have an upkeep, or
Right.
if it's something that
Right, and all
is
that
synthetic.
could possibly be options on whatever build you're looking at.
Exactly. Yep. Some boats you can get, with synthetic flooring, and there's pros and cons to that. And some boats you can get with real teak, and I think we can all agree real teak is predominantly in the industry a more desirable looking floor.
Well,
but there's an upkeep to
I
that as
thought
well.
that. I thought that, but a lot of people don't want real teak.
Because of the
It's
upkeep.
upkeep.
It's a lot of upkeep, and upkeep is time wasted in a lot of people's minds.
And luckily, in this day and age, there is a lot of modern products to actually minimize the amount of upkeep that you do on these floors. So it makes that floor last longer and look natural, without having to put layers and layers of mystery varnish on it to discolor the teak and discolor, get that natural beauty out of it, and manipulate that. So there's a lot of things nowadays that can help with all that. I think the biggest takeaway out of everything is that there is, and one thing I repeatedly say is, there's no 10 out of 10 boat. There's no boat out there that's going to be a 10 out of 10.
I have one piece of input at these boat shows. Oftentimes you're diverted because you've got these damn salespeople that they want to bring you to the technology, and they want to show you the new shiny piece of equipment that just hit the market, and it's on their boat, and that is somewhat of a diversion. That's great stuff. We need that, but then you've got to look at the actual boat and the underlying factors of what we kind of just discussed, right? I think that's important.
Attention to detail, symmetry,
Alignment.
alignment. Those are really the three things that we look for when we get on a boat. And
Absolutely.
the quality of a hardware.
Yep.
I think that's pretty much sums it up.
Yeah. So next time you look at a boat, look at alignment, symmetry, hardware.
And attention to detail.
There you go, and you might be able to answer yourself the question: is this a good boat?
Thanks for joining us today.
Go team.
Yay!